Okay, so welcome to J115 Introduction to Corrections. And we're going to spend some time today for the next hour or close to an hour going over the expectations for the quarter. One of the things I want to really clarify with everybody is that if you're having technical support, and some students have reported to me, like with your ebook or with some of your modules not showing up, contact personal support. Personal support's number is at the bottom page of every module that we have here. In fact, the number for PSC is, give me a second, it is PSC is 866-693-2211. And they're 24/7, so you can reach them anytime you have a technical problem. A lot of times students will reach out to me, but I'll direct them back to personal support. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so now you guys can see the module. We're in section 1. You may be in section 2, because I have 2 sections of it, but section 1 is the one that I have up for today. And the first thing I want to do is let you know, you got my welcome already, so you know who I am. My phone number is listed here. This is my cell, and here's the rule for using that. You can call me, text me, or you can email me any hour of the day except the 25th hour of the day. And that means what it says. It's not a typo. It's not a joke. It's really the way I roll. And I've been that way since 2011, and it's helped me to communicate and connect with students. You'll discover that I like to connect with my students. I like to remain connected, but I put the onus on you guys to let me know if you have any issues, questions, concerns, problems. And please, when you do text me, include your name and the course number. You don't even have to have the section number or the course, so that I'll know. Because if you're in section 1 or section 2, I can find you right away. But people will text me sometimes, and I won't recognize their phone number because I got over 80. I got almost nearly 100 students, and so I try to keep up with everybody. So, and then a few reminders here. And this is not in your rubrics that I've shared you, but I always remind you, and it's right on the home course page. Reminder, and that's why I put it in bold, in all caps. You're to conduct research for all papers. That means that the sole source of your papers should not be the textbook for the course. You'll lose 2 points if you don't conduct research. I will take those off in addition to the other rubric issues. Also in the rubric, a reminder that all written assignments should be in APA format. We provide sources for you or resources to help you with APA. It's very important because that's what we apply. You'll see about that throughout the course. You'll see it also in the syllabus when we go over it in just a few minutes. And so what that means primarily to me, there are other parts. You have a cover sheet, citations, and references. And citations in the body, proper citations. That's why you need to look at APA and make sure you get that right. And references at the end. Students sometimes opt to put just in references and not citations. and some people put citations and not references, and you're going to lose the appropriate number of points, which you'll see in your rubric if you take a look at it. So, and then these are some helpful resources under here. Your advisor is always a good party to keep in contact with about issues that you might have. If you have some health issues, if you have issues where it appears that you might have to withdraw from the course, or those kinds of things. If you need a medical leave of absence, those kind of things you need to contact your advisor for. Your advisors will then tell you in some occasions to contact your instructor, so that's fine. Now, here we have some sources, resources that I've given links to. There's now a new thing called Peer Mentor, and then we've always had tutors. But Peer Mentor is, and you can click on that when you get a chance to, and it will bring up your need for that. Now, Peer Mentor is someone basically like a big brother or big sister to help you to break into the system of Rasmussen, someone who's been here a while, someone who can be very helpful, and you want to try to rely on them to help you a whole lot because they've been through the process and they know how to help you to be successful. If you have problems with other issues, then you go to a tutor. We have a program within the classes called Tutor Match, and it's where you can get assistance from student tutors who are trained to deal with issues like APA format, Grammarly, which I'll talk about in a minute, and any other issues that you might have. And then there's a student success guide that we refer to. You can click on these, you can look at them, you can download them. Frequently asked library questions. The librarian and the Learning Center team for the School of Justice Studies is awesome. Bethany Marston and Suzanne Schreifer, they work very hard to provide excellent resources and information that, oops, gotta turn that off, somebody called me. I'm gonna turn the volume, okay, there we go. And so library answers, so you can get those answers. Don't hesitate to go there. And even take a look at it, you'll learn some stuff. And then we have a writing guide. That's where if you need help with writing. Now, there are students who have pride, and they say, I don't need the help. Trust me, I am a writer. I've been a writer. But we didn't have these kind of resources when I was in college. I graduated in 1975 from college, Roosevelt University, with a bachelor's in political science, minoring in business. And then I went to Northwest University School of Law, as you already know or should know if you looked at the section in there, the student lounge, about me. And writing is something that I can always get help with. There are people who can help you to prepare really good assignments so that you will maximize and get the best possible grades. And then there are resources that the Library and Learning Center has put together. I don't understate using them. So that I have this here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I have it more than one place in this class, you'll see. But then you'll get down here, and let me minimize that, okay. The lecture sessions, today is our open house, and then we have live lectures every other Wednesday from 8:30 to 9:30, beginning next Wednesday, the 12th. And you can remember, if you're in an even week, you're going to have a lecture. Week 2, week 4, 6, 8, and 10. Those are the lecture weeks that you will see. So you will see them also on your course calendar when we go to that in just a few minutes. And then this is another resource that gives you, we call it the 5 fingers. And the 5 fingers include each of these items here. And I would suggest you take this PDF, open it up, and I'm going to open it up for you, and then download it. And it gives you your advisors. It tells you about your guides to library homepage, and then a guide to student success, answers, and so forth. But we said these 5 fingers will help you to be successful. And also I have one other resource that's not on here. So you have all those together. And this is a way, there are students who've taken this and printed it out and put it on their wall or near them so they can always remember those things, okay? So that's a resource there for you. And then, moving right along, we have the APA assistance. If you need APA assistance, again, here's a place you can go. And you can copy and paste, you can copy these things. Well, I guess you can't on the picture, but you can take this, and this is the guides. Oh, here it is down here. Yeah, here's the link that you can click on, and you can copy and paste it, or click on it, and it will lead you to the guides for APA. So if you need to know more about that, I can't underestimate the importance of learning about those things. Okay, then let's go back to this. I've also included the writing process, and I explained the writing process. You got a writing guide, Grammarly. Run your papers through Grammarly. Grammarly, each of you have a Grammarly account, and you have access to that Grammarly account, and you can set it up, and I recommend setting it up at the beginning and get into the habit of using it as a filtering process to review your papers to see not just the grammar, but also make sure you check for the plagiarism. Now, let me explain something to you. Students have a concept that plagiarism means taking items and not giving credit for it. Yes, that is a form of plagiarism, but another form is giving credit for it, and then your paper primarily consisting of the sources that you researched and not enough critical thinking. In other words, you haven't taken the time to, in your papers, analyze the issues, address the questions that are before you, not just to provide sources to support your answers, but to explain, elaborate, and give us details that we know that you have a clear understanding about what you've read. And you need to be very good in college about being able to express that in writing. Very important. You're going to learn that in your professional area. Like as I went into law, I had to do it. You're going to learn very well into writing your police reports or any correction reports, or if you become a probation officer or parole officer, whatever area you work in. Many of you are majoring in human services, but the point of the matter is that it is important that you learn to express yourself in your own verbiage and language as well. And then talked about the writing lab. This is a place where people can send their assignments, but you have to have, I think, at least 24 hours. I think it's 24-hour to 48-hour turnaround. So you don't want to wait till Sunday night to submit that. Make corrections to your drafts when we give you information. Now, let me explain. We don't give you two times to do an assignment every week, because that would be a nightmare for us as professors, because we have extensive amount of grading to do. So you have to pay attention so that if you mess up in week 1, you want to go to week 2, okay, and so forth and so on. So that by the time you get to week 11, you don't have those. Tutors, I talked about Tutor Match, and it gives that as part of it. So you can click on this, and it will open up more of the information there for you that you'll be able to find as well. Okay, so now let's look at the, well, before we get to the week 1 announcement, I want to remind you that at the beginning, Sunday, which you didn't have access to Monday, I posted this welcome announcement. Everything in here is very, 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 very important. A lot of people don't read this, and make sure that you get into the habit of checking these items and read what it says. If you have a general course question, one that anyone needs, not some personal information, you can post it in the general course question section, which is found under the section for discussions. And then there's a resource tab, which I've kind of helped you with that by providing various ways you can get to resources. And then finally, we go back to the APA. You'll see us stressing that a lot. Assistance with research and writing, very important. And then the tutoring, and then there's also some chats with the librarian. They're based on certain hours. You'd have to go to their website, and then you'll be able to see that. I've already given you the link to that. And then this reminds you again about our live lectures that will take place beginning next week. Now, in the Get Started folder, the information in there I'm going to be adjusting because the discussion, someone brought it to my attention, discussion forum in the Get Started folder is different from the actual assignment. The actual assignment for discussion is to be taken from the module itself and from my announcement. It tells you what the assignment is. So I'm getting ready to get that fixed, so don't worry about that. Then again, as I had said earlier, if you have technical questions, PSC, personal support, they are 24/7, and then there's the number again. Okay? So now let's get to the announcement for the assignments for this week. Each week, you will see an announcement. Please take the time to read the announcement. I've had many students who said they'll call and ask me a question about something, and I'll say it's in the announcement. It's in the calendar. And then I cover it during my lectures on weeks that I have lectures. So for week 1, correctional systems and its history, sections 1 and 2 of your text are what you're supposed to be reading. And then there's some activities in there that help you. They're not graded, but they're beneficial to you. An introduction to the correction system and a historical perspective. And then I talk about the lecture again, and I give you the link again, which obviously you know because you're here. Be sure to participate in the discussion assignment, which this is the correct discussion assignment, justification for punishment. That's the one you'll also see in your module, but that is not the one you'll see in that Get Started. So this is the right one. Your deadlines, your initial post was due last night, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard. For those of you in Florida and on the East Coast, it's Central Standard Time. So you want to make sure that you get that in at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, if you're on the East Coast, you get it in at 11:59 your time. That's going to be 10:30 my time anyway, so you're going to be still good. A reply post, on the other hand, is due Saturday, the same time as well. And that's the rule. If you are late with posts, you will lose points. And I will tell you in my remarks why you lost points and explain them to you. Okay? Finally, you're going to complete the written assignment, elements of the correction system, and the quiz. Those are the 2 written assignments for this week. Now, we're going to discuss the project and introduction, but it is not an assignment that's due Sunday, okay? Because these 2 assignments, elements of the correctional system and the quiz, are due to be completed by Sunday, Every Sunday, your written assignments are due with the exception of discussion posts. And then a reminder about the open house tonight. And then you'll see at the bottom of every one of my announcements, our weekly announcements, that is, starting strong, finishing strong. And my motto is adversity is the springboard to success. At the end, I will express why I say that and what it means to me and why I encourage students to follow that mode. So let's get started here. Let's take a look at the syllabus. Okay, the syllabus at the top gives you information. That's very important. This email address is for purposes of the course. My email address really doesn't have a 2 behind it, but that's the way that they use it in here. So when you email me, you'll email me in the course. My email outside of the course is without the 2, but the same set. So it's Richard at Wright, that's my personal. Richard.Wright at Rasmussen.edu. Okay. I also give my personal email, which is Richard at the A sign, Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T, godisable.net. It's and that's listed actually in the course mail. Well, no, I think in my initial email, or either it's in the discussions in the not the classroom that we have earlier. So the student lounge, that's what I'm looking for. So again, this is a reminder of what I shared with you earlier. So I tell students I have stuff usually in more than one place, so you don't have to just rely on one place, but remember that. Then your course description, this is the textbook right here, and you should have access to that. If you have problems getting it, please contact PSC right away. Sometimes students don't have access to their text after a certain period because they owe money, but a lot of times there will be other reasons that are technical in nature, and you'll know those, and contact them, and don't wait long. Okay. Then let's move right along. And down here, and let's talk about, the fact that this is an 11-week course, and specific due dates can be found in the course calendar, which I will show you where it is. Since it's an online course, you must plan to have regular internet access and time to explore the resources. So very important. And it tells you what you're expected to do, complete all lesson application assignments in a timely fashion. That means within the time period that it allows. Participate in all weekly discussions as detailed below, but I've already given you those. And then students also are required to check the course announcements at least 3 times a week. I tell students every day. I check every day. I do more than 3 times a week. And the reason why is because sometimes there's some date-sensitive stuff in there. So I don't like my inbox full, excuse me, so I constantly checking to make sure. Now, regarding your discussion posts, this is kind of like a little bit, I gave you a rubric on it, but this is kind of like a little summary of that. We want your discussion post to be discussion. We don't want you yes, no, I agree, good post. If it is a good post, elaborate, explain why it's a good post so that the person who reads it will learn something. The idea of a conversation oftentimes is to impart information, and therefore when discussion, and this is, since we're not physically together, this is what we use in its place to do that, okay? So don't be afraid to reply to more than one post as well. I encourage it as a matter of fact, but don't give little short comments, because you'll lose points for that also. And remember, exercise courtesy when responding to other people's posts. Even if you don't agree with their position, which I have a lot of students that I don't agree with their position, but if I do respond to it and reply to them, I will say, hey, here's the reason why, and here's a resource of some information that you can take a look at. And I do that. So I'm not shooting anybody down. I'm not embarrassing anybody or any of those kinds of things. What I am doing is just sharing information back and forth. But, you know, and please, not too many students do it, but I've had a few, do not use cuss words or those kinds of things. We don't operate on that basis. We will not allow that, and you will get in trouble, and you may even get reported for it as well. Like I said, be very respectful and make sure that you are appreciating the positions that are presented by other people. Okay. Now, I already told you about post-due, so we're going to skip over that. And these are the basic requirements. Reading, check your course schedule for readings, which I provide that not just in the calendar, but in the announcements. And then discussion posts, we already talked about that. Written assignments, you perform research. See, I say it over and over to students. You perform research on a particular topic and report back on your findings. Make sure that you have the right number of pages that the assignment calls for, because if not, you're going to lose points for that. And then there are 5 live quizzes. Each quiz contains 10 multiple choice questions. And then there's a course project, which we will be talking about in just a few. And it must be one of the 4 areas of corrections. And you're going to, first assignment, interview a staff member of an agency at your choice, that's going to be due in week 2. It is not due this week. Okay, I've had questions asked of me because they see it, but it doesn't hurt you to get ahead, but you have time to get on that. Now, I've had students to give me an assignment, a project assignment based on an interview with a staff member of an agency that's like police officer or something of that nature. I says, that is not one of the listed ones. You must use one of the listed ones, and I'll elaborate on that in just a few to clarify it for you. I'm going to leave you hanging there. The final exam, then, 50 multiple choice questions, and it's very comprehensive. It will cover the materials that you've gone through. Again, once again, I remind you what I reminded you at the top as well. So now let's look at how your grading criteria operates. Notice that discussions constitute 220 points, or 28% roughly of your grade. Very important that you maximize those. And then look at your written assignments. See how heavy those are. Now, that's not even your course project. That's the weekly written assignments, which is 39%. Your course project is 165 points, or 21.2%. Your quizzes constitute 50 points, and it's small. Some say, well, I don't have to worry about that. And they'll look at even the final exam and says, oh, that's a small percentage. Don't do that. Don't allow yourself to be lulled into a false sense of security. Say, do well up here, and then don't do so well down here. Says, that's not good. Your goal is to get 780 points. And I've had students to do that, okay? Now, here's what I want to share with you. This is the grading scale. Now, here's what I do want to explain to you so you understand very clearly. And I want you to hear this. Do not ever email me, text me, call me, asking me, what does it take to get a C in my class? I will not answer that for you, because I don't answer those kinds of questions for students. I answer questions to help you get an A or a B, but then you almost know that yourself. But you definitely almost know the C. And then never, I had a couple students says, okay, I want to just pass this course, get a D. I say to that person, you're not doing too well there because you're setting yourself up for failure for the future. Remember one thing. Practice makes perfect. And when you shoot for, you know, if you're in a shooting a bow and arrow and your aim is not to hit the outside of the target. Your aim is to hit that bullseye. Well, that ought to be your goal in this course, is the bullseye. And the bullseye is 100 to 93%. That's the bullseye. And that ought to be your aim for every single assignment, every single discussion post, every part of your project that you do. That ought to be your goal. And when you get that mindset, you will also translate that into success in your career as well. Okay, so now that being said there. So now, these are things that I will do. Respond to all course messages within 48 hours, absolutely. I don't like my inbox full. Provide my contact information, I did. Conduct a synchronous learning session each term. Now, here's the rule, so you know this, so you'll understand something about Professor Richard Wright, or Richard Wright, if what you want to call me, or Richard. Here's the point. The requirement for me as an instructor is to do one live lecture. This today would count as a live lecture. And that's it. I don't have to do any more. I am not required to do any more. All I have to do then is grade your papers, and then when you call me or text me, I answer your questions. But I don't have to do a live lecture to elaborate on it. I don't have to do that. But because I like connecting with students, as I said earlier, I have opted to do 5 additional ones in addition to the open house. As I showed you already, weeks 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. I used to do them every week, but look at the turnout today. I've got 2 sections of this course, and not very many of you guys show up. I appreciate you showing up, and even if you don't show up, I still do the lecture anyway and provide the information. I do archive them, and there are students who say, oh, I'll count on the archive. Well, I like to ask questions. I like to get answers. I like to be able to get stuff contemporaneously with the time the information is imparted. So your opportunity to do that is with the live lecture. And so when you have the live lecture, that's when you take the time. I do them late in the day because I've done them in the past earlier, and it didn't work well because people were very active. They had a lot of other things going on during the day. So in the evening, people have settled down and been able to do it. Plus, it's beneficial to me as well. So I don't mind going beyond the requirements to benefit my students. I have to actively facilitate class discussions. I do that in a number of ways. I also I respond to your discussion posts every week. You'll see me reply to 2, maybe 3 sometimes discussion posts to answer questions or either just to elaborate on things that I say and submit a reply. So as I already said this, communicate with me, please include your first, last name, as well as the course title and number in the communication, and then it tells you how to reach me. Now, let's take a few minutes and talk about transferable skills. Now, in our college here, we have decided that as you attend this school in every class, that you should be in the habit of becoming proficient in the following transferable skills. And the reason why we take that is because we believe that they mean exactly transferable skills means that these are skills that you sharpen, hone, or attain while in college for the benefit of being a good professional. And so in our classes, all the classes I teach, communication is very important. You know, in criminal justice, communication is very, 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 very important. And it's the beginning and the end of operation, written and oral communication. I actually teach a course that involves written and oral communication for law enforcement people, that correction students also have taken, it's J112. But at any rate, communication is important. I am a communicator, and it's good to become a communicator because then you can express ideas. And again, going back to the writing, that goes to that particular issue as well. Now, critical thinking, you need to be able to, as they taught us in law school, to be able to think on our feet, to be able to be creative, to be able to not just take information and present it, but also to elaborate on it, to expound on it, to provide our positions on it, to contest it sometimes, challenge it, but we then provide sources of research to back us up as well. And while I'm on this, in your research, never use Wikipedia. If you use Wikipedia, you will lose points. Wikipedia is not a credible source. Those of you should know that Wikipedia is a word-based web page, which means that anyone can change the information in there. So you get dinged if you use Wikipedia, okay? So critical thinking is very, very, very important. As you proceed through this program, you will eventually have a course on critical thinking. But when you first come in, begin to get your mind moving in that direction, because the better you become, it's natural for me now. But the point of the matter is that it should become like breathing, so that when you get information, you can challenge it and question it. You know, not that I don't think that's correct. Why isn't it correct? Explain in your words with some information that's credible, that you've done some due diligence, looked at websites, resources, and places that are credible and reliable, and included that in your position, okay? Digital fluency, that goes without saying. We're in the digital era. When I started out in school, we didn't have that. We didn't have it when I graduated from law school in 1978. It came later after that. And I am digitally fluent as a person who's in their late 60s, be 67 May 3rd. I know how to do this stuff. And so there's no way to get around it, guys. It's here to stay, and it's very important. You have to understand how to operate with these systems. You have to learn how to use Word. You have to learn how to use Adobe. You have to learn how to use Office and other and various tools out here. We're so digital that I have my cell phone here, which I actually have applications on here that, and you're familiar with that, apps, as we use the term, to allow us to see things. I can even see stuff like this on there. I discourage using your apps. So for your assignments and things like that, I discourage using iPads or Android pads. I encourage using desktops or laptops because you get a full picture. So we're in that era, so we want to get you into that. Diversity, again, I've kind of talked about that. Respecting the position. We're all from various backgrounds, different ethnic groups, different religions. We've all been taught things that are different, and some people are taught things about other groups and races. As an African American, I can tell you, a black man, I have been subjected to some people of other races who thought certain things about us until they got to know me and others, and to explain that that's not true. So we are in a diverse society. We are in a diverse community. Our country is made up of people from other places. I'll use the term what it is. It's immigrants, and that we're all from somewhere else, one way or the other. Some came voluntarily, some came involuntarily, as my people did. But diversity, still, you learn. You don't assume things about people. The Muslim community, for example, is under severe attack right now, and there are presumptions when a person sees a Muslim person, they think of terrorism and stuff like that. That's not good. That is not good. And so we encourage in this school, and I'm a part of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee at the college, to espouse these ideas and to encourage our students to begin to think open-minded and learn to accept people. I have a saying that I love all people except those who don't have red blood. So if you don't have red blood, then I don't like you. I'm against you, and I'll probably be against biased and all that. But if I cut you and you have red blood, we're in the same family. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what language you speak. I don't care what culture you have. That's what diversity is all about. And then teamwork. Teamwork is so important. We work together in teams. You're going to learn that. In law enforcement, of course, you're going to work in teams. In any profession you have, you're going to work in teams. And you're going to have to be able to rely on. Teamwork is important, not just in sports, but in business and in other professions, especially in law enforcement. Ethics. We must have good ethics. It is so critical that we operate on the basis of truth, not lies, truth. And so ethics is very important. I once said I taught ethics in criminal justice, I've taught ethics in business and medicine. And I have shared with my students on each of those occasions that if you operate on good ethical principles, that you will be successful. If you operate on poor ethical principles, you will be unsuccessful and possibly, especially in the criminal justice field, end up in the place where you work at as a resident, such as a corrections facility or jail or something like that. The point of the matter is that this is very, very important for you to operate that in school. So how are you going to do that in school? You're going to, not plagiarize intentionally. You're not going to cheat. You're going to, again, do the right thing. And you know what I tell somebody? You can't teach ethics, but we can teach, I shouldn't say we can't teach ethics. We can teach ethics, which is a system, but we can't teach you morality. We can't teach you character. Character is who you are and when nobody's looking. And so the point of the matter is that ethics is so important. And then professional responsibility, abiding by the rules of your profession, also your departments, your organization, or whomever you're working for. You want to operate on that basis. I do that as a professor. There are students who will ask me things, and I'll say, I can't do that because it would violate my professional responsibility, and also it would be a disservice to you. I can like you and see you not do too well, but I can't fail you. You fail you. I've never failed a student ever. Students fail themselves. You don't need me to fail you. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. And then finally, information literacy, being able to find stuff and information. I am a professional that I don't leave any stone unturned. I will investigate until I come up with what I need. And that's the way that you need to be. So you need to be able to do all those things. And so you'll have a chance to demonstrate these in all courses that you have, and then you'll be proficient at them when you go into your own work. Attendance policy, I'm not going to talk about that. The late assignment policy, I do want to suggest that to you. It's not in the syllabus, but it is a school policy, is that if you are late with an assignment, you lose 10% of that grade. And so on discussion posts, for example, if you are 1 day late, you'll lose 1 point. 2 days late, 2 points, and so forth and so on. And also, when I'm talking about discussions, I do want to remind you that, and it actually is on here, it says that online discussions conclude at the end of the current week. Discussion posts made after that will not be accepted. They'll be there, but you'll get 0 because the discussion posts end on Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. I've been pretty nice, and if you did it on Sunday, the discussion reply post, you've lost a point for it. But if you did it on that Monday, no deal, no deal, no deal. I don't care if your computer crashed or whatever. I cannot do that. I can't do that. Now, I am not dogmatic. If I see you submitted your post at 12:01, 12:30, or something like that, you know, around right after midnight or something, I'm not gonna, you know, be that dogmatic. So there are students who, hey, gone. It's not like execution and the death penalty. We don't operate that basis. I understand that sometimes technical issues happen, slow download, uploads, and all kinds of things. Trust me, I take that into consideration, but not a couple hours or an hour after that. So now getting to the 10%, so you'll lose 10% for each day that it is late. Now, I have discretion to waive late penalties or time frames in the case of extenuating circumstance. I don't apply it to discussion posts. I do apply it to written assignments, and there are extenuating circumstances. I've had students have had them, but you know what? If you have extenuating circumstances and I don't know about it, if your advisor knows about it, but I don't know about it, I'm going to just deduct the points. And the way that you let me know is shoot me an email, call me, text me, just like you got open communication to me. You have no excuse for not reaching out to me, and that's that. So we got a little bit more to go here. Integrity policy. This gets back to the ethics, and then I'm not going to go through all of this, but the plagiarism issue. Now, remember, this is different from the Grammarly. The Grammarly plagiarism is basically saying that you've taken too much information from the sources that you've researched, but you need to offset that by providing critical thinking in there. If you have a one-page assignment, you want to make sure that most of your paper is critical thinking and then support it with a resource. Don't fill your paper up with copying and pasting or cutting and pasting or either taking a few words and changing it. I will find that out. Okay? So very, 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 very important. And that's it for the syllabus. Students don't take the syllabus. By the way, the syllabus is a contract, so that you're knowledgeable of that. Okay, so now let's look at the calendar. Let's look at the calendar. A minute here. Course calendar. And it tells you everything that I said earlier. Gives you a reading assignment, gives you when your post is due, tells you when your open house, tells you when your reply post, it tells you your written assignment. Now notice here, you'll look here and you said, I thought you said there was no assignment that was due Sunday for the course project. Open it up and look at it. It says, see the details in Module 1, okay? That's how I say it, all right? So it's a reminder, really. It's not an assignment itself, okay? Now, and then each week, you see in your assignments, you see your lectures, all this, you see it, and it goes through all the way through the whole course. So I behoove you to look at your course calendar on a regular basis. So now let's look at Module 1. Now let's first look at what the assignments are. Remember what I told you about the project. These are, an assignment section tells you what your assignments are. And this explains your first written assignment. And it says these are explained in the reading by Letisa and Smith in a 2-page paper. Show you something. Letisa and Smith is not your textbook, because some people thought that. That is not your textbook. Letisa and Smith. Let's go back. Let's go back to assignments. In the assigned reading by Leticia Smith in a 2-page paper and elements. Now, the point of the matter is that here's the deal. Even if you don't use this as a source, in a 2-page paper, explain the elements. But here are the 4 elements. And if you check in our library, you will find Leticia and Smith. The Correctional Center is made up of 4 elements: jail, prison, probation, and parole, which, by the way, this is kind of a hint on what's coming up for the project. And it says, in a 2-page paper, explain each of these elements and how they fit into a correction system. So you don't just have to apply this. There are other resources that you could find. Make sure that you, APA and all those different things that are written now. And it says here, 2 pages. 2 pages. Does not count your cover sheet, does not count your reference page. Okay? And then you know how to do it in the Dropbox. Then your discussion post. We already talked about that. And then your quiz. Those are the written assignments for the week. That's it. Your reading is not a written assignment, but it was something that will help you and benefit you. All right. So now a lot of students look at this. They think that I'm talking about the textbook, and they're confused by that. It says no. You can find this information. If you can't find Leticia and Smith, don't worry about it. There's plenty of information out there, resources that you can write about this answer. Provide the elements and how they fit into corrections. Now, make sure that you elaborate and discuss them, how jail fits in, how prison fits in, how probation and parole. What's the difference between the 2? There is a difference between the 2. There are some common points, and you need to be able to elaborate those and provide that in a well-written paper. Okay, so now let's get back to, and I do want to say this to you. Your assignments that are due on Sunday, get used to this. You will see your assignments generally graded within a week. Sometimes I go a little longer, but I don't try to go 2 weeks on getting them back because I have so many students. I do fall behind sometimes, but I will get your grades in to you. But the normal course is that if your assignments for this Sunday are submitted this Sunday for week 1, I should have them graded by midnight or 11:59 p.m. of that next Friday. So I may not. So don't go looking all the time. Sometimes you'll see them. But then by that Monday, I may still be working on some because I have so many students. I haven't even counted yet, but I think I have at least 100. At least 100. You think about it, I have to grade all of these assignments and read them over and make comments. So be aware of that. Now, with that having been said, now let's go to what I want to go to, and we got about 7 minutes, and we may go a little bit over, but just hang in there because this is important because this lays out. Now, each week, you'll see in the lesson content section, you'll see that it gives the objectives, okay? And then it elaborates again on the assignments. Now, listen to me good. These things up here, like the criminal justice system, the vocabulary review, and the course project, and the vocabulary challenge are not assignments. This is information that's in this section that will help you with the module for the week. We already talked about the discussion. See, now this already is incorrect, so that's not the correct discussion post, discussion assignment. we already told you that I need to get that fixed in terms of this right here. So don't disregard that. The assignment is already given in your module for assignment. So I got to get them to fix that. They will fix that. Your quiz. Then we have a couple of things new in here. We have tutoring support. This is something that you want to pay attention to, and I've already talked about it, but here's what we're trying to do, guys. We're trying to ensure student success. So we're going to drum this thing in to you. Student support and live classroom. I'm going to scroll down and you'll see what I'm talking about. So, introduction to the corrections system, and there's a little blurb down there that tells you a little bit about it. There's a historical perspective, and you can click on these things, and it will tell you what different things that you'll find. So Middle Ages, see it at the top there. So if I go back to, tells us a little bit about this, the Code of Hammurabi. I remember that in law school. But anyway, so you'll get a chance to see how our system has evolved historically. So it'll help you to learn something, early jails, 17th century, and so forth, and you go on through it. So you click on it. This is an interactive thing that will help you. Okay. Now, before I get to the project, I want to go and jump down here to the tutoring. Remember I told you about the tutoring. The tutoring is something that will help you, and I've already given you information this, how do you make an appointment with a tutor. We've incorporated this, and we've asked our library and learning people to share that information, and now I'm welcoming this. This is the first quarter they've done it. I think that's a good move, and it will enhance the tutoring. Very, 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 very important to help you out. Even if you're a good student, it can still help you, okay? So now let's get to and talk about and conclude. Well, I'm going to tell you why that adversity is springboard success at the very end. But let's focus on this. Now, get this right now. Your course project overview. There are 4 components, and we already talked about that earlier in your assignment: probation, parole, jail, or prison. Your project has to be on one of these 4, no others. These are the 4 components of the correction system. And since this is a class on corrections and not law enforcement, we don't want you using the state's attorney's office. We don't want you using police departments. We want you using the probation departments, the parole agencies, the jails, or the prisons, which means you can use the sheriff's office, who covers usually jails. Okay, but these are the 4. So you're going to contact a staff person at one of the agencies that fits within this category. Schedule an in-person interview. Don't quit on me now. So that you can learn firsthand what it's like to work in the field. All right? So you want to learn firsthand what it is to work in the field. Now, now, if you can tour the facility, good. However, we know that there's some security issues. Some agencies now don't allow that. So, as an alternative, a telephone interview is acceptable. It says may be acceptable with prior instructor approval. I'm giving it to you already, okay? So you don't have to do that to me. I'm giving you already. But try first. You know, see, here's the deal, guys. And some of you already work in them, but you're going to learn more if you can get inside and talk. But telephone is the next best thing, okay? And then you'll have some assigned interview questions, which I'm going to go to in a minute, but you'll also explore other questions that are of interest to you. In addition to your interview, you will conduct research into the background of your agency and possible solutions to the challenges identified from your interview. Now, when you conduct research, you're going to have sources and citations of where it comes from. Is it their state prison organization and so forth and so on? You're going to provide, if you know, numbers, statistics, information. Okay? So, but your first assignment is going to be coming in week 2. And I won't go to that now, but when you look at week 2, you will see what that is. While working on this project, you will have an opportunity to display your competency in your writing, what we've been talking about already, reading and oral communication skills. You'll need to maintain in a professional manner while conducting the interview, of course, and you'll also be demonstrating effective use of grammar, sentence punctuation, and so forth in your final interview report. There are many resources available to help you, and I already told you about those resources. They said they're available by the resource tab, but we kind of covered that. Diversity and teamwork. Through your interview questions, you'll develop a better understanding of working with other people of diverse backgrounds. That gets back to what we talked about the transferable skills. So this is one of the purposes. Now, here are the due dates. Your final project is due week 9, okay? But the individual projects, now, number 1, it says, notice it, it's not highlighted. It says introduction to project and field visit. That's what we're doing right now. But the others that are highlighted in week 2, in week 4, week 7, and week 9, those are the actual assignments for the project. And you will be graded separately on each of these assignments. I've provided you a rubric to help you with that already. And that rubric, you should check with your email. I sent the email out to every one of you guys. Now, here are the required interview questions. Required interview questions. Required interview questions. And there are 5 of them. In addition, the interview should also include a minimum of 3 questions of your choice. So we don't want you just asking these questions. We want you to be creative. Well, again, what we're doing is we're getting you into the habit of critical thinking. That's what we're doing with 3 questions of your choice. And then research into the selected agency. Based on the agency, the information required for the background section may vary. Some common issues include cost, population, programs, employee demographics, organization, mission, and functions. Notice what we're doing. You see your transferable skills reflected in your assignment. As a professional, you will be expected to understand and apply ethical and professional principles of conduct where you are employed. As part of your review of the agency, you should choose to your research to include the organization's mission statement and functions. Mission statements are very important in organizations because it gives a guideline about the direction that those organizations start out at or intend, what their specific intent is. Digital fluency, we talked about that. As you research into your selected agency, you'll need access to at least one website that provides you general information about the agency. The importance of digital fluency continues to be identified as a necessary skill by employers. I told you that earlier, and that's why we include that in our syllabus. To include these skills, you are asked to include a minimum of 3 resources. A book, a journal, a website must be utilized in addition to your interview. And I'll be looking for those with citations and references. And then they have to conform to APA and contain in-text citations and reference pages. Information literacy. Here we go. I already told you about this. You will be expected to identify the relevant information associated with your research that is incorporated in your final project. Remember, your resources need to be credible. Here's my statement that I gave earlier. For example, Wikipedia is not considered a credible resource. I already told you why. As you complete your research, critically evaluate your sources for possible biases. For example, if you read, for example, let me give you an idea just so, if you see a study done by the Dairy Farmers of America, and it comes up with the conclusion that milk is good for you, and they give all the good reasons why, they might even be telling you the truth. But remember, there is some inherent biases included in who did the study. Okay, so you have to begin to look at things like that. Okay, not to throw it out, but to keep that in mind. Each assignment leading up to the final assignment is evaluated independently. I already told you that, and I'll provide you the criteria for each of those. For further questions, please ask me. Post ideas and questions that your classmates in the general course questions of this course. It says in the Getting Started folder. Well, it's not really in the Getting Started folder. It is actually here. It's under your student lounge. There it is right there. We got already some. Let's take a look at them and see what they are. And these are things that students have asked me. And you'll be able to see this. This is not just something I see, this is everybody sees it. So their question is, I was going over what's due this week so I can plan everything out. Are we writing introduction, or are we just supposed to read it and take notes? I look forward to hearing back soon. Well, I already gave the answer to that question. So that's why I do this open house. So you know the answer already. It's not taking notes. What you're doing is you're preparing for your week 2 assignment, okay? And so you can post those in there, and it benefits everybody. Then the next question is for the introduction, what exactly are we supposed to be doing? Okay, and again, people, I told you that's where I get my questions. So I know, I taught this course last quarter for the first time. I taught another class similar to this in corrections, but I learned a whole lot about it. So you guys actually get the benefit of my experience from last quarter, and you're getting some more details. You know, let's see what the question is from Deborah. Let's see if you look at the Family Feud survey says, I am curious where the reading assignment is from Latisa and Smith. The book that I received for this course is that, and I have been doing some homework since 6 p.m. and it's now almost 4 p.m. So I'm tired and I missed it. So I explained that too as well. Okay, it is a publication that you can find there, and if you can't find it, don't worry about it. I told you there are plenty of other resources out there. So that's where you can post your questions, and then you create a thread by doing that, and then just post your questions, and then I can reply to it, or any student can reply to it. So I've already replied to it verbally, so I've been typing them in. So that's where you find that information. Okay, so we are at the point now where, let's see, I've covered everything in the module. Let's go back into the classroom. And so I ask you guys who are here with me, Clifton and John, do you have any questions about anything, or are you now more up to speed than before you came to this? Type in the chat and I'll see it, because then I'm going to conclude. No questions? Okay, Clifton, all right. And John? Great. Awesome. All right. Shot and a goal. That's for hockey people. 2 points in basketball. Home run, baseball. Football, touchdown. Okay. Anyway, awesome. So okay. So let's go into the issue about why I say adversity is a springboard to success. Give me about 5 minutes at the most, maybe 10 minutes at the most to share this with you. I am a person who had a lot of struggles in my life as a young person, very young person. Starting out from when I was 7 years old, my dad was murdered by a guy that turned out to be my mother's live-in boyfriend, and my father confronted the guy, and he stabbed him in the forehead with a knife in front of me, a 7-year-old, and 5 younger sisters. And we were in a bedroom. I have a photographic memory, so I'll never forget it as long as I live. But anyway, the guy did not go to jail on a legal technicality. He ended up staying in the house with us. He abused my mom, beat her mercifully often. So I grew up in a home as a child of domestic violence. So it was pretty tough for me. So at any rate, my mother stayed with this guy. He beat her. He'd go to jail. She'd be right there to bring him back home, and he continued there. Now, moving from 57 to 63, he fathered 2 more children with my mom. They were both girls, and so thus it was 7 girls and 1 boy, me being the oldest. So in 1963, in May of 63, Memorial Day to be exact, he murdered my mother, leaving us without a mother, and he had previously murdered my father. This time, we were brought back to live with an aunt, and it was a struggle there because she didn't really want us there, but so another aunt took us and moved us into a house that she built, and with her husband, who turned out to be a pretty bad guy himself. And so anyway, here I am in 1964, and I'm 14 years old, and I find out that this man is going to be sentenced to 10 years for killing my mother. Well, it was brought to my attention that 10 at that time meant 5. And that for good behavior, he could potentially serve a year and a half off of his time, or 3.5 years. Very troubled young man I was at that time, and when I get troubled, I start trying to find out information. I start asking people questions, and I asked many people, and then finally someone said to me, they said, "Richard, there's nothing you can do. That's just the way it is." I said, "I don't mean, what do you mean the way it is?" They said, "Well, specifically, that's the legal system." I said, "Legal system? What? Tell me about that." And they said, "Well, there's these people called lawyers." The only lawyer I ever knew of was Perry Mason as a kid watching on TV at that time. But he said, the person said to me, yes, lawyers operate this criminal justice system, criminal law system, and other areas as well. So I went to the place where I could find information. I went to my school librarian, and I asked her, did she have any books? I was still in grammar school. And she said, on lawyers. And she gave me a little book, and I took that book home and read it cover to cover that night. Well, guys, the next day, anybody I met, I told them that my name is Richard Wright, and I'm going to be a lawyer. Well, that was when I was 14. 28, and when I was 28, which was 14 years later in 1978, I walked across the stage, which you saw the picture if you looked in the student lounge of me accepting my law degree from Northwest University School of Law. But in between that period, this is what happened to me. I ended up going out to find somebody that I didn't even know, to ask her to be my mother, and she became my friend with me many years, and then years later she legally adopted me. So I today stand with a mother from adoption. But at any rate, here's the point I want to tell you. With all of that being said, as soon as I graduated from high school, my first job was in the mailroom of a big law firm. It was corporate law. And so I took the job, making very little money. But when I got there, I made it known to the lawyers as I brought their lunches, as I carried their mail, and had opportunities to just kind of chit-chat with them on occasions. I would let them know what my goal was. And they smiled, but they began to see, too, that I was going to school at night. I got married right away, and came kids that are now 46 and 45 years old, and both girls. And so anyway, I ended up working 40 hours a week and going to school, carrying 12 to 15 hours of classes at night. I did not have a car. I was on the bus. I was on the train, the L train at that, not the Metro, studying. And I had to be at work in the morning at 8:30, and then I'd have to be in class at 4:30, and I got off at 4 o'clock. And I had books at that time, not digital, books. And I had to run across about maybe almost a half a mile to get to my classes. And I would get there, and I did that. And I ended up staying on the dean's list, the honor roll, and the law firm saw how I was progressing, so they made me a file clerk. And then they saw that I was continuing to progress and still doing well. They made me a law librarian. And then they found out I knew how to research. I taught myself how to do legal research. I didn't ask any of them. I just got the books and read them and studied on them myself. I sacrificed my lunch. I'd eat my sandwiches at my desk, and I'd study. And then I'd listen to the lawyers talk about cases and precedents and things of that nature, legal writing and all that stuff. So they found I could do that. And I started, and so I became what they call a law clerk, which is now called a paralegal. So I taught myself. I actually started researching for the lawyers, had an assistant hired to take care of the books. And so by this time, I graduated from Roosevelt University and got accepted at the Northwestern University School of Law. When I got to Northwestern University School of Law, I worked part-time for the first year because the first year of law school was like 1 year of college. I mean, each quarter, each semester was like 1 year. So it was really very involved. I slept with books in my face as my pillow. I had a book everywhere I went. It was attached to my hand. I had my books, and I studied hard, and I still was raising my kids. So in the meantime, I ended up going through, ran into some financial problems, but I still persisted. I even had my electricity turned off at home, so I studied by candlelight. The bottom line is that whatever came up, my goal was to become a lawyer. Well, while I was there, one of my instructors, a guy by the name of R. Eugene Pencham, who was a noted trial lawyer in Chicago, noted criminal lawyer, he gave me some advice. And I told him my story about what happened with my parents. He says, I'm going to help you. He says, I'm going to help you to find out exactly what happened with your parents, and I'm going to take you over to the courthouse and show you the records. And he did. But then he gave me this advice. He says, if you want to be a good lawyer, and criminal was my area. And so, by the way, the law firm I was in, I went back and worked for a little while as a lawyer for 2 years, and then 80, I left out to start working primarily in criminal law. So at any rate, what I'm telling you is that he told me, he says, represent murderers. And that might sound funny, but I did. I was very good. I represented any people in any cases in criminal area, except I couldn't do domestic violence, and I would not do rape. I did one rape case of a guy who wanted to leave his girlfriend and go back to his wife, and she cried rape. And I did a bench trial with a female judge, and she acquitted this young man. But other than that, I did drug cases. I did robbery cases. I did all kinds. I did juvenile cases. I did all of that stuff. I worked with probation officers. I worked with parole officers. I worked in many areas, and you'll learn some of the things throughout my discussion responses this quarter about some of the programs I participated in. But here's my point, is that I was good. I could stand in front of a jury and impart information and help my clients. I used to also talk to my clients about accountability as well. But the point of the matter is that I made my goal. Well, along the way, I ended up taking a job while I still had my law practice at a municipal village in the area, and I became their village attorney. And I said, I'm not taking this job because this is a really tough place, a lot of drugs and gangs and all this, without a gun. They said you can't carry a gun because you have to be a police officer. And so they told me about courses that I could take to get that. So I proceeded to take as many hours as the full-time officers to learn. And then I passed the firearms requirements for the state. I got my firearm. I got my badge, and I became a police officer. I never wore a uniform. I always wore plain clothes. So then found out there was some corruption in that department. So the chief got indicted, and so the new chief came in and realized he could trust me and asked me if I would conduct internal affairs, and I did. I did that as an investigator as well. So with that being said, I did all those things, and I did them well. And so I later on in 91 to 93, I went to seminary because ministry was one of my passions. And so I went and got a Master of Arts in Religion. So as a result, in 2000, when I was 50, I retired from practicing to concentrate in ministry. I still help people, as I still do today, but I don't accept fees. I still give them guidance and direction. But my point being is this, guys, is that with every obstacle that I had, I still had my goal, and I kept it in front of me. I didn't let, there were people who were in my own family who told me that I didn't have what it took. But I didn't tell them, let me show you. There's an old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. How I demonstrated to them was by my actions. And those same people, I had one aunt in particular who has passed away now. She was the first person I invited to the graduation, and when she got there, that was the first time she owned up to me as her nephew because I was about to graduate from a distinguished law institution. The point of the matter is that I didn't let obstacles stop me. I didn't let adversity stop me. It just continued to drive me and focus. By the way, when I graduated from law school in 1978, my third daughter came, and she'll be 39 this year. And then I got married again, and I have a 27-year-old daughter. And so now, currently, at home now, I have a 21-year-old son who will be 22. I have a 17-year-old daughter who will be soon, who will be 18. Then I have a son who's 16, who's turning 17. And then at my age, I have a 9-year-old baby girl. Well, she's 8. She'll be 9 on April 15th, tax day. So all those things. And then I became a pastor of a church, which is what I do also now as well. So here's my point. Once again, you have a professor, instructor, who can empathize with adversity, who's there so you can say, hey, he did it, I can do it. And I always tell people that, yes, if I did it, so can you. And so what I do is I bring to my students my expertise, my experience, my challenges to say to you, hey, just do it, guys. Just get it done. You know, yeah, you're going to run across obstacles. But you just got to go ahead. And there are people who will help you if you're willing to put out. Count me as one of those. I am one of those. And so with that, that's all I have to say. Just wanted to share that with you. You won't hear me talking about that during the quarter much because of the fact that that's why I give it to you in the open house. Okay, guys, thank you for coming out. Kept you a little longer, but this is, and I will be sending this archive out to everybody, so you'll have this. You can always refer back to it if there's any questions you have. Of course, if you can't, then you can come back to me. Any questions, guys? John Clifton, are you there? Okay. All right. Well, anyway, okay, so let's have a great quarter. Let's finish the, let's cross the finish line with gold. Let's not go for silver or bronze. Let's go for gold. Is it a deal? Sounds good? Count you in. Okay. All right. You took a little while to answer me. Sometimes I know systems take a little while. So I'm going to say good night. I've got some responses to do. I've got to transfer this over into another. I got to transfer the lecture I did last night. So you guys have a good rest of your week, and I hope to see you guys next week in the lecture. When in the lecture, I will give you a chance to ask questions. Bring your questions to the lecture on the assignments. By the way, just so you'll know, you have access to the material in week 2 as of Friday. So you always, some people think you have to wait till that Monday. No, you actually have access to it on Friday and you can see it, but you can't see it until then. So be aware that every Friday we roll out the week that's coming the next week, so you'll have that. That's a little inside information for you. Okay, good night, guys. Have a good one.